All right, Steve, everybody's going to ask before I even open up the live chat, and I'm going to let everyone know, leave your comments, your questions. Everyone's going to be asking some form of who's the starting quarterback, who looked the best, who does Ryan Day think is going to be the starter, and has he already made that decision, even though he's not telling? There's going to be all those questions. So quarterback situation, Steve, you attack it in any direction you'd like.
I thought it was great to see all three of those guys in action, and I think all three of them had some great moments in the course of the spring game. I think that Stroud threw for 185 yards and McCord threw for 184, if my math was correct, and both of them threw for two touchdowns. Jack Miller was around 125 yards and had an interception. So there'll be a lot of people who take the ball and run with based off those stats and what they saw and how sharp the guys looked. They all threw for pretty good percentages. I think what we have to remember, though, is it was just 1 out of 15 practices for Ohio State during the spring, and we have no idea how they performed the other 14 days. I mean, I think you have a pretty good idea that – a decent enough idea that to know what they're capable of from watching them play in that game. And I was very impressed really with all three of them. I think Stroud and McCord in particular, there were very few negative plays, I think, for those two. Obviously, Miller throws the interception down on the goal line, which kind of put a crimp on his day, you would think, a little bit. But perhaps he was the best one the other 13 or 14 days. You just don't know because you don't go there. And Coach Day didn't announce a starter, didn't declare one ahead of the other. We haven't really talked to Corey Dennis, the quarterback's coach, at all yet to get his feel for how they played this spring. So I guess just basing it off what we saw, if it had to be Stroud or had to be McCord, you have to at least feel, hey, that's okay. I don't think either of them or any of those three are ready to go play Alabama or Clemson just yet. But the good news is they wouldn't have to play a team of that caliber till later on if that's what it comes down to. So they can kind of, I wouldn't even say ease into it because they're playing Minnesota and Oregon the first two games. But I think feel a little bit better about where things are headed with the quarterback position after you have a chance to see them each throw about 20, 25 passes in that game. It was a pass-heavy scrimmage, and they really accentuated what the young quarterbacks could do. So that was my take. Tony, I know you're up next. What were your thoughts about it?
Well, you say we didn't really talk to Corey Dennis. What you meant to say is we absolutely did not get to talk to Corey Dennis this spring. And we didn't talk to any of the quarterbacks. They're the only position group we didn't talk to this spring for whatever reason. Who knows? Who's to say really why we didn't get a chance to talk to them? But I'm with Steve. You know, I thought C.J. Stroud and Kyle McCord. I love the aggression that they showed, and that's what disappointed me with Jack Miller is that he didn't show some of that same aggression. But he may not have had that opportunity. He also had some drops, and everybody's going to remember the one interception. But you know. As Ryan Day has said, each week, each day, it would be a different guy shining and struggling. And one day somebody would take a step forward, and the next day they'd take a step back. And so this is one of those days where it was somebody step forward and somebody step back maybe. And I don't even know that there's necessarily a step back for any of them. We've seen much worse spring performances, spring game performances, including the last spring game we watched where Justin Fields was a pitiful 4 of 13. So I'd say all three of these guys are on pace to be better than Justin Fields. I mean, if we're going to put so much weight on a spring game, or not us, but if people want to, then just go ahead and jump in with both feet. I mean, these guys are better than Justin Fields based on this one spring game. If you're going to say this guy's ahead because of what you saw, you got to commit to it, man. Kevin, are you committing?
No, I'm not committed. I'm gonna let you two sit there and talk about all that, and I'm going to just say Ohio State certainly has 3 quarterbacks, if not 4, as the walk-on quarterback throws a touchdown at the end of the game, and all hail our quarterback overlords, whoever it may be. I'm not ready to jump in on anything at this point, as both Steve and Tony said. We've seen a very small window of what's gone on. We certainly were isolated away from talking to the quarterbacks or the quarterback coach. And whenever we asked Ryan Day anything, he just confirmed that the team had quarterbacks out there working. So we really don't know what practice 9 or practice 11 or practice 13 looked like. We know what practice 15 looked like. It is not me. So, we don't know. I mean, Jack Miller was picked off by Ryan Watts. Watts did a good job of walling off his defender, and, Miller would have been better suited to go a little bit more back shoulder there, but there was not a lot of real estate. But what I do have faith in is that they will figure it out. They're not going to roll out there without a quarterback when they open against Minnesota. But, I guess if you put my feet to the fire, I would say that, in the bits and pieces and drips and drabs I've seen, CJ Stroud seems to be in front. But, the margin, I'm not sure.
I think it's pretty safe to say that through all this, the one thing that we can conclude that after 15 years that Michigan has finally pulled ahead of Ohio State because they were able to name a starting quarterback. Cade McNamara has been named the starter, so they clearly know what they're doing up there, as opposed to Ohio State and Ryan Day still trying to figure things out, I guess.
Yeah, well, you know what you're doing when your quarterback transfers out to go. One of your quarterbacks does to lead that that flaming dumpster that is known as the Tennessee Volunteers, Joe Milton.
He goes from the Michigan of the Big Ten to the Michigan of the SEC. There's some comfort level, some familiarity there for Joe Milton, and he'll be right back on track. And I believe Michigan will start 3 quarterbacks this year. Cade McNamara will start out, and he'll struggle at some point. And JJ McCarthy will come in and just do what McNamara did last year, like where he comes in for a half to rescue the team, and he looks good. So he starts next week, gets about 2 starts, gets hurt, and then it goes to Alan Bowman, the Texas Tech transfer. He'll get a few starts in there before he finally gives way back to Cade McNamara, and you've got this perfect circle of 7 and 5 of quarterbacking.
The sun goes Michigan, up, the sun goes down.
I guess Michigan and Tennessee, in addition to being in that rare category of 100,000 seat stadiums across college football, would be maybe in the only category, just the 2 of them of 100,000 that are disgruntled and booing every week. They have the monopoly on that. All right, talking Ohio State football here every week. Tony Gerdeman, Buckeye Scoop, Kevin Noon from Rivals, Buckeye Grove, and of course 247 Sports. Bucknuts, repped by one Steve Hillwagon. All right, we're talking Ohio State football, taking your comments and questions. All right, my one thought on the quarterback situation would be, again, too much of a spotlight on the spring game. It's the one time that the cameras are set up. Otherwise, it's no more important than 3 to 4 other times that they go full throttle scrimmage. But is it safe to say that McCord's got the best arm, but Stroud probably has the best grasp of the offense and looks the most prepared and polished to play a game tomorrow?
Yeah,
that's what I would say.
Fair way to say it. I think McCord, first play went down the middle, 55 yards to Garrett Wilson, and that was a lot of fun. Each of the guys got a chance to throw a deep ball early in the game, which was kind of a way to kind of get their juices flowing, I guess, and they hit a few of those, which were kind of cool as well to the big timers there with Garrett Wilson and Jackson Smith, the Jigba, and Chris Olave, and they got out early and often, so that was cool. A lot of guys making plays for the first time ever, that we got a chance to see them. I mean, very, very few practices are open, very few opportunities to see the team in an 11-on-11 situation. And again, you have to take a lot of what we saw with a grain of salt, because it seemed like the defense was very vanilla. It seemed like there weren't many blitzes. It was just kind of a controlled scrimmage. And again, I think the quarterbacks did a good job of taking advantage of what was there for them in the course of this game. Had a lot of young guys in coverage. A guy like Demario McCall, who's never played defense before, really at this level out there trying to hang with Chris Olave and the others, and that didn't work out so well for him at times. Yeah. So, any rate, I'm of a mind again. Take it, file it away, and understand that there's a lot more work that needs to be done before this team's ready to play Minnesota, Oregon, or anybody in the fall.
I don't know that the play that I'm thinking of when McCall was downfield against Olave wasn't pretty much played as most cornerbacks in the Big Ten would have played it. He was down there at least. He was on him. He was close, but just couldn't find the football.
Yeah, that's kind of the way it is. And Olave and Wilson, I mean, they haven't backed off the throttle one iota. They look like they're ready to have some kind of a huge final season, I presume, for both of them at Ohio State coming up. And again, we'll get into it, but the play of the freshmen as well, Buka and Harrison, really gives you a lot of excitement for the future. I mean, if Stroud or McCord or Miller and then Buka and Harrison are all they're chalked up to be, I mean, this is going to be Justin Field to Olave and Wilson all over again. So should be a lot of fun the next several years watching all these guys play.